Hey everyone, Sarko here. So this video is going to be a bit of a rant. I've not scripted it or anything. This is just me talking about my first thoughts and impressions over the trailer for Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City. Obviously I can't show the trailer here on the channel because I'll probably get slammed with copyright. So instead I'll just provide little screenshots from the trailer and talk over that, and hopefully they won't get too mad at me. So the first thing that stands out to me, I'm going to try and go over the positives first, but we'll see. As I say, this is just a ramble. This shot here of Raccoon City with the RPD on the left, I like it. This at least looks like Raccoon City. Presumably there are other areas of the city that have more of the high rises and such, but you know, it's a good start that we actually can recognize Raccoon City. So props to them for that. The same ends up being true later on in the trailer for the mansion, like this shot. That does indeed look like the Spencer mansion in the creepy woodland. So, you know, first impressions, they are definitely trying to be authentic with the set design, and in an interview they was stated that they have the exact layouts of the Spencer mansion and RPD rebuilt as sets, so it's one for one with the games. So that's good. In saying that, early on in the trailer we encounter our first problem, Lisa Trevor. And we know it's Lisa Trevor because we actually see that on a file later, and I'll read that in a moment. But this whole thing of her putting her finger up and shushing whoever it is, this is the first kind of red flag for me, because they seem to be trying to make Lisa Trevor more sentient, more human, and probably the goal here is to make her more creepy. Unfortunately, I feel it does the opposite, because the whole thing with Lisa Trevor's character, and if you haven't played Remake, pause the video, go play it, come back. The thing with Lisa Trevor is that she has been experimented on for decades, cannot die, so she's this freakish immortal monster with the progenitor virus, the T virus. She was even the one that basically created the G virus within her own body. So she's this immortal freak that is a savage wild beast that rips people's faces off and puts them over her own skin. And the only scrap of humanity she has left is the little girl inside her who is searching for her mother, who has been dead for decades. But she's looking for her. She wants her mum, like any child. And it's that contrast between the monster and the little girl who's scared and alone is what successfully makes Lisa Trevor, at least for me, a terrifying and yet terribly tragic character. And by giving her more intelligence, you take away from that, I think. Not to mention that, unfortunately, this does not look like great makeup. You know, that looks like a mask. It doesn't look like skin. Lisa Trevor, so far in the preview images, like the one of her standing up, hasn't looked so good. So that looks like the first negative. Of course, you know, we don't know what they're going to do. We don't know how she'll be implemented into the story. They might do her justice. But first impression isn't looking good. Even though they do have this file on her, and signed by William Birkin in 1997. We'll get to that, how that seems to be another good thing about it, is that they are trying to set it in 1998. We'll see how many fuck-ups they have in regard to things being in the wrong time period. like guns and things might not be entirely accurate. What is interesting, I don't know off the top of my head whether this file that they have is custom made for the movie or if they've actually lifted it from the game. They might have, I'm not sure. I'll need to check, because at the moment I'm not going to double check that. This is just a little rant that I'm doing. Next issue that I have, Leon. This is not Leon. This is Leon. Leon, not Leon. Now, the actor might be perfectly fine as Leon, and that won't be a problem. Overall, this is me just being nitpicky. But can they not make a single effort to at least make him look like Leon? At all. Hairstyle, clean shaven. You know, I mean, they don't necessarily have to change the colour of his hair, but at least try with the style, please. Like I said, like this, a lot of people thought this was Carlos Oliveira instead of Leon at first. Or someone even argued with me on Twitter thinking this was Forrest from Stars, not Gump. And it's supposed to be Leon. So we have Leon. And as I say, the fact that they've tried to be so authentic to certain aspects of the game's feature designs, which I'm going to show you in a moment, it annoys me how a lot of the cast is a hit and miss. Some of them seem okay to me, the rest, I don't know what they were thinking. But the trailer does have plenty of nostalgic moments in it. It's actually what this trailer ultimately is a nostalgia fest. They're just pressing that nostalgia button to get us all excited. And that's sometimes a bad sign, if that's what they're relying on. So, you know, like this lorry going over because the driver's infected. It's not crashing into the police car like in RE2, probably because they didn't have the budget. But it's a nice little reference, and there's many of them. Talking about creature designs, we have the Cerberus, which the CGI looks a bit shoddy for 2021. Obviously they've had budget issues, and I feel that might be the downfall of this entire thing. But at least it looks very accurate to the game, I'll give them that. Might not be the most realistic looking image here, but definitely accurate to the game. As I say, this is the big praise that I'm going to be giving this film. No matter how good or bad it is, they have at least really tried to be faithful to the games and authentic. As for the zombies, we'll need to see more of how they move and how they sound. We're not really seeing that in the trailer too much. The general design here, not too bad I would say, because they're presumably recently infected, so they're not going to be rotting or anything. The zombies I suspect might be one of the weaker points of the film. The extras playing them might not be particularly amazing. But, you know, you never know. So, another thing, like, as I say, going back to the whole thing about being 1998, we have film projectors, which there's probably people who don't even know what they are anymore, because, you know, I guess most people are just used to like DVDs and Blu-ray and tablets and iPads, and they don't know what a film projector looked like. But there's a blink and you miss it thing in this little clip from the trailer, and it's the Ashford Twins. Now, I'm assuming this is some kind of like CGI enhancement thing on the games, like a CGI recreation thing, you know, because, or otherwise they've just found kids that are the spitting images of the Ashford Twins, because this looks exactly like Code Veronica. And that's very interesting that they're including the Ashford Twins. I mean, even like pulling the wings off the dragonfly there, you can see on the table. Bringing them in shows that they're obviously trying to expand the lore beyond just Resident Evil 1 and Resident Evil 2 to probably give a better narrative. And that's, on the face of it, sounds like a solid, good idea to me. I just feel they might be trying to cram too much into what presumably is going to be not that long a movie. That could also be their issue, that they're going to be trying to do too much with too little. But who knows? Although the set designs are very accurate, this mansion looks too small. Like, this entrance hall looks too small. Either that, or who I assume is Wesker at the front there. I can't recognize Wesker in this trailer because no sunglasses, so I don't know. I don't know which one's Wesker. I'm assuming it's him based on his position. Either this is a small mansion, hallway, or like main hall, or Wesker's like 8 feet tall. It's either one. And speaking of classic mansion moments, of course we have this moment right from the game, the first zombie that we see in the original game and in remake. And it's a nice little homage, nice little Easter egg. I always appreciate these sort of things. However, this makeup, not looking too good, is it? It's not looking too convincing. In the trailer it might seem fine because it goes by quickly, but the more you stare at it, the worse it looks. And yet, in other scenes in the trailer, the zombies don't look too bad, actually, so I don't know. I just think for this scene, which is going to be a big one for the gamers and fans of the series, you would want this to look as good as possible. And it's not looking as good as possible, I would say. Again, maybe I'm being nitpicky, I don't know. But something about this image I just don't like. Doesn't look real enough to me. And of course, another Easter egg, of course, we have Itchy Tasty. However, this appears to be in Raccoon City, because we've got Claire there. And in this scene, she gets attacked by some rabid mental patient, who obviously isn't Lisa Trevor, and isn't a zombie or something, so we don't know what's going on there. And that's the other thing in the trailer. We have Claire apparently having conspiracy theories about Umbrella, as if she already knew. She's got some friend that is telling her. And that leads into one of the big things where we have Leon, but we don't have Ada. Where is Ada? There's no references to her. And where there is Leon, there is always Ada. Now, that's not to say Ada's not in the film. She very well could be. It could be a little hidden surprise. But with how much they seem to be wanting to cram into this film, I don't think they have time for the Ada subplot. I really don't. And there would be no need for her, because Mr. X isn't going to be in the film. Our good boy Trenchy isn't going to be in the film with his lovely fedora hat. So, that's an issue. However, even if Mr. X isn't in, we do seem to get William Birkin. This is obviously Birkin due to the eyes on the shoulders. And in fact, it seems with the design we can actually see Birkin's face there to the right of the eye on the left shoulder. So on the right side of your screen. So this is obviously supposed to be like G4. By the looks of things, this is actually the train car escaping Raccoon City. That he's coming through the roof. So this is G4 transformation, I'm guessing. CGI, again, lacking, but I overall like this design. I think it will be quite scary in the actual film. It does beg the question, are we going to get G1 through 3 as well? Are we going to get more of the G transformations, or is Birkin just going to immediately turn into this? Because again, it seems to be that time is going to be the biggest issue for this film. Another creature design I didn't mention, the liquor looks absolutely stunning. Very on point on the model from the game. I really like the look of this liquor. Really like it. It's probably my favourite part of the trailer, to be honest, is this liquor design. So, let's see, the other things that are worth mentioning, I guess, is how they're actually going to do this story, because are these incidents happening at the same time? The mansion and Raccoon City, are they happening at the same time, or are they separate? what's going on with that, what provoked the initial outbreak. Is it the same as the games? Doubt it, because they don't have Resident Evil 0 with James Marcus. I fear that they've maybe shot themselves in the foot here by incorporating Raccoon City and the Mansion incident into one film. The Mansion incident does actually have enough content to be one film, because you can add in a lot of filler that isn't in the game for gameplay reasons, that we don't want to spend an hour in the RPD talking about the Arklay Mountains murders. You just get them in a quick cutscene. But in a movie, you can actually use that to introduce characters. And I just think if they were going to be blending games, it would make more sense to blend Resident Evil 0 and Resident Evil 1 into a single movie. And this would cut down the budget, because the sets would be smaller, because you're not having a film in a massive city. And on top of that, you then, if that ends up being successful, then you also get then the bigger budget, so then you can go ahead and do Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 3 at the same time. And do them justice, and you should have a bigger budget for filming in a city and blocking off city streets and stuff like that. So I can't judge on how good this movie is going to be before I see it, so we'll just have to wait and see. First impressions from the trailer, 30% positive, 70% negative. The whole thing feels very B-movie, and that makes sense because the director's only done B-movies before. And my concern there is that as faithful and authentic as they're trying to be to the games, except with people like Jill and Leon, you do run into the issue where nostalgia can only carry this so far. And if the rest of the movie is lacking and feels more like a student film with an inflated budget, then you're going to alienate everyone else, because the key issue here is for this movie to be a financial success, not only does it have to attract fans of the games, but it has to be an enjoyable experience for people who know nothing about the games. And if it's just relying on nostalgia and recreating things from the games, and the rest of it's pretty subpar, then audiences are going to stop going to movie theaters to see it fairly early on. So, and that's the other thing with the trailer, the song that they play, which is basically like the He-Man meme, of Prince Adam or whatever it is. That's a concern to me as well. That feels very off-putting. I'm just going to skip through the trailer now. You won't see this on your screen, but I'm going to just jump through clips just to see if there's anything I've failed to mention. But yeah, it feels a bit cheap and nasty. It feels like a student B-movie sort of. I suppose the best way to explain how I feel about this trailer is it feels like a fan-made movie, but with like a Hollywood budget behind it. A student film, and that's it. So obviously it gets like most of the beats right for the games, but the overall quality of it is lacking. So we'll see what happens with it. But those are my thoughts. That it does feel a bit cheap and nasty. And I know there's going to be people who say, well, the games are designed to be sort of like B-movies. It's like, yeah, I know. But, after what Hollywood did to Resident Evil with the Paul Anderson films, and how they were just basically a Hollywood version of his wife's OnlyFans for him, just for him to go, look at how beautiful Mila is. You would hope that this coming from Hollywood would actually be really good and listening to the fans. But I don't know, this could be dead on arrival. But we'll find out. I know there's going to be people who are going to love it no matter what, because it tickles the nostalgia. For me, I'll give it a go. I can't judge it until I've seen the whole thing. But the diagnosis at the moment for me isn't very good. I feel that this is going to be... its strongest points are going to be creature design, nostalgia, and lifting scenes from the games, and everything else is going to be found lacking. But I hope I'm wrong. I honestly do kind of hope I'm wrong. Resident Evil as a series, it deserves an actual good Hollywood outing compared to the action fest shit show that we got previously. But let me know. I'm probably forgetting things. And there will be stuff that I'll probably want to mention, so I'll probably do a follow-up video. But since the trailer was released today, I figured I might as well put this together very quickly so that you know my thoughts. And we'll see. But until then, anyway, let me know what you think in the comments. And do you agree with me? Do you not? Do you think this is going to be amazing? Do you think it's going to be a flop? What do you like most? What do you like worse? Let's get a discussion going. While I work on my backlog of videos, because I know I'm not uploading regularly and I'm hoping to change that soon. So thank you for your patience anyway. And yeah, so that'll do for now. So yeah, bye.